There we are. And here we are.
Welcome back to the Demand Better podcast, your ultimate consumer's guide into health, fitness, and wellness space. We're sponsored by Fit Care Physiotherapy and Wellness, where the emphasis is to focus on your fitness so you can avoid the healthcare space. I'm your host, Corona, coming to you from the concrete jungle of New York City. And joining me, as always, my esteemed co-host, Dr. Bo Babenko. What's up, Bo?
So I'll make my head smaller to balance your head. How about that? How about that? We can. Colorado, man, we're having a great day out here. Beautiful weather, middle of August. We're actually coming to New York soon, so hopefully we'll see everyone in person in New York next few weeks.
Well, listen, man, today's a special day for me. I have a dear friend of mine, Dave Pederson. You might know him from Super Size Me, The Third Wave, and Americonned documentaries that expose uncomfortable truths. But 20 years of shining lights in dark corner, Dave's learned something crucial. Exposing the problem is only half the battle. And that's why we created the Demand Better podcast. Now, I know Dave not from the boardroom, but I know him from the football field in New York City when he was kicking my butt all over Randall Island and Central Park and winning championships. So with that being said, Dave, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be back in New York, and hopefully we'll see each other in person soon too. So that'll be great. Been too long.
No, dude, it's so good to see you. So let's get right after it, man, because I put up a post a long time ago, but about a week ago, actually, regarding food. And let's start with the Super Size Me, because Super Size Me was a huge deal when you came out with it. I mean, it did change. It changed culture in a lot of different ways. So why don't we start there and you give us a little bit of background of that, and then we'll move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it did change things. I mean, the genesis of the whole project was kind of funny. With it's a typical kind of Morgan Spurlock thing. Is we had him and I had created like the first show that ever went from the internet to television, a show called I Bet You Will, that eventually got optioned by CBS, and 9/11 happened, and it didn't happen at CBS, so MTV picked it up. And so we were kind of winding down. We did 3 seasons of it. We're kind of like tired of it. And, so we're all heading home for Thanksgiving. And I get a call from Morgan, like Thanksgiving night. And he's like, hey, he's like, Viking. He's like, I got an idea what we're going to do with the rest of the money we have in the bank from the show. And I'm like, what? He goes, I'm going to eat McDonald's food for 30 days. And I was like, all right. That sounds cool. All right, let's do that. It's just like, okay, he's got some plan. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So he's like, yeah, I'll eat nothing, 3 meals a day from McDonald's. And that's the genesis of how that started. And, and it was funny. While making it, no one cared. We were so desperate for money at one point. I'll tell you a little quick story. And he was a Bubba, but a former Bubba. I offered him 25% of the film if he could loan me 50 grand, and he didn't take the deal.
For anyone not familiar, could just give us how much did it end up grossing?
I think at the box office alone, it was like 31 million, and I didn't even know at the time. And a friend of mine, John Holmstrom, who founded Punk Magazine, he was over one day and he's like, hey, Dave, did you know your film, this was at the time, I don't know what the stats are now. He goes, but you're the second highest return on investment for a film. He's like, you did 31 million at the box office and it only cost you $65,000 to shoot. Blair Witch was number one, of course. That cost like 30,000. It did like 200 million at the box office.
Dude, the numbers are crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was wild. Like, and it was funny because, like I said, people weren't taking us serious. It's like, like I call the head of McDonald's PR every day for a comment, and she was really nice, but she'd be like, no, nothing for you yet. Nothing for you today, Dave. So every day for 30 days, I called her. It was like every day, nothing. I don't have anything for it. So they didn't take us serious till we got to Sundance. And ironically enough, we got it was a year later and it was Thanksgiving, and Morgan calls me, and I brought this Bulgarian couple that had been working with us when we started the company, home to my home for Thanksgiving. And Morgan called me, and my sister ran out and bought bottles of champagne, and we sat in a hot tub, drinking champagne. And it was like, whoa, we're going to Sundance. And we didn't know it was going to be such a big deal till we got to Sundance. we got there like 2 days early to like, so we could put up posters and all this stuff. And we had our friend had this sport clothing company. So she made us like parkas, like supersized parkas and beanies and stuff. So we're like in this bar the first night we get there, and locals are there. And that's the only film they were talking about. And they're like, oh my God, that's you guys. You made that film. And I think all the screenings sold out within like 10 minutes. And then I knew it was going to hit. It was like, the early screenings, it's all the distributors, the stars go in to see it. And then we had a screening at the huge theater in Salt Lake City. It was like 600 people. And when Fat Bottom Girls came on, the whole auditorium exploded. I'm like, oh, we got a hit. And then the next day you could see CNN was like, McDonald's was doing a PR, like, emergency, they were on like a whole PR crisis thing, like, oh, this and that. And it's like, and, and people, and the people that were against our film, like, like I liked it because I had convinced, one part I convinced Morgan to do was like, look, we can't just have this all one. So we've got like Jacob Solomon, who wrote for the Libertarian magazine Reason, just to see what these guys, they have to say, like, and, a lot of them after, like, well, you didn't take McDonald's down. I was like, we never said we were like McDonald's going to close. It's like you can't stop those companies. It's like we're just trying to make them accountable. And I think we were successful in that. The one thing we did every time we went to a restaurant to shoot, we would ask for nutritional facts, and they never had them, so they never had them out. And like I think that like two things I can see positive came out of it. Is they started posting nutritional information. They had to post it. Yeah. And I mean, I really think that's because of us, because we really, I mean, you see it a couple times in the film. We put that in there. We're asking people. And then I think is like the putting the healthy options in kids' meals. They started doing that immediately after the film came out, which I thought was good. I was like, you're not going to bring these guys down, but make them accountable for, what they're putting in there. It's demand better. I mean, that's how it should be. It really is. It's like you should just demand better. And, it's, their profits are off the hook. There's no need to be like that. You can serve health. And look at, too, also, like, remember the salad option shot up. You used to get like one salad there. Now they have like all these different salads, And, because I always thought they were stupid anyways, because I think they're missing a market. There's people that are only to eat like salads and things. People are healthy and like, oh, okay, well, everyone's going here. At least I have something I can eat there, That's not.
Yeah, it's incredible. We talked about the cultural impact you guys made. I mean, the amount of films coming after, people criticize you, but then Fathead is a big one. All these other kind of ways that it sparked the conversation. So one way or another, right? In terms of making a film, you hope to spark conversation, not take down a McDonald's of the world. I think that
it's just
like, you didn't take them down, you failed. Like, no, that can't be the
I don't see it as a fail. I see it as a success. It's like, and you know what I get all the time, and it's so funny because it makes you feel so old, is like, because one of the things I produced after is like I produced like the educational version, and that we goes out to schools and everything, and I get people like, oh, I watched that at school, and like I get stories like
I'll say I watched it in my undergrad, in my baccalaureate degree. I was 2004 came out. I graduated 2005. We absolutely watched it in my college.
Yeah, it's you get it from. It's great when you hear that. I'm like, oh wow, and like like, oh yeah, I haven't touched fast food since I saw that. You get a lot of that.
It did. Watching it for whatever it was, 2 hours, made me crave a Big Mac more than ever. I will say.
Oh yeah, of course.
Just like the science, the food science. I don't think I had eaten McDonald's for a while before then, and then I watched it and I was like, I need to go get a Big Mac and my next opportunity, and I did. It's still. I mean, you just it's like one of the things, one of the horrible stories, like so, like I also I produced all these DVD extras. So one of the DVD extras I had working on is like I had told Morgan the story of like when I was in high school, my friend Johnny, like my friend Mike, threw like a McChicken under the seat of his car, and like a year later, nothing happened to it. It would still look the same. And I was like, this was like, 1987, I think. So I was like thinking, I was like, oh, wow, I wonder if they still do that. So Morgan's like, okay, let's go buy. So we got all these like, clear glass cookie jar type things, and we put each different kind of food in them.
So I have them there for a week. So I'm like time lapsing them. So I had hired this one intern. I won't name his name because I'm still friendly with him today. And so I come in the office one day and all the foods are gone and the cookie jars are all clean. I'm like, dude, what happened? He was like, oh, I cleaned those out. There was like food in those. I was like, dude, I've been filming that stuff for a month. It's like I was going to film it for like 6 months to see what happened. You threw it all out. I was like, no, you ruined my experiment.
Well, the good thing is I think there are plenty of examples of that on the internet these days that
I think there's a guy, I just saw a story where someone, I think they had like the longest, like I can't remember how many years. I should have saved it. It was like 29 years.
Wow.
It's a hamburger from McDonald's or something crazy. But
Wow.
yeah, do some search. There's a search of these guys like they were going to auction it off.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Antique burgers, man. They're delicious.
So listen, so now you go through this whole process with them, and I'm kind of fast forwarding it to today. Because now, today, what we're seeing is ultra dense.
Just for reference, for anyone watching this 5 years from now, we're talking about 21 years. This came out 2004. We're talking 2025 here.
And it seems food seems to be getting worse, Dave.
I think so too. I mean, I don't know. It's like, just living in Austin, which, all right, Austin's in a bubble, but like when you travel through the South and everything, and I was just, living in Memphis for 8 months, and it's like, man, the obesity, like the Northeast West Coast, we're in a little bit of a bubble. I think people are healthier. We have better, Colorado too. Colorado's always is like always 1, 2. Massachusetts, Colorado, and Minnesota always 1, 2, 3 in like health and education, always. And those are the determiners of poverty. We can get to poverty later and the effects of that. But it's I think it's I see. I mean, it's anecdotal, but it's you walk around in the South and everyone is so fat in the Midwest. It's like, wow. Do you remember when we were growing up, Dave? It's like when we were in school, it's like there was always like one or maybe two fat kids.
Yes.
There was always like 1 or 2. And now I was like, while I was taking my break this past 6 months, I was like teaching at a school, like Massachusetts is totally different, but like I would see is like, there's like a few, but Massachusetts is really healthy, so you don't see so much. But when you go by these schools, like drive, and you see all these fat kids getting on a bus, I'm like, man, what is wrong? And
I don't know if you know this, Dave, but I believe around 2010, the statistic came out that this is the first generation in human history that will not outlive the previous generation in terms of life expectancy.
Oh yeah, I mean, in the U.S., right? In the U.S., it has, right? Yeah. Well, because I mean, it's horrible. I mean, the two determining factors for poverty are education and healthcare. So you can always determine where you're going to lie when it comes to poverty, and those things are horrible in most of the country. I mean, you look at all the states that have the highest education rates; they have lower obesity rates. The ones that have more access to healthcare are better, everything, better welfare programs, everything. If you're, the bottom line, there's the old Thomas Paine said, no, it wasn't Thomas Paine. Sorry, it was Cicero. It's like, the ultimate law is the welfare of the people. It's like, he said that, 2,100 years ago, but it's like, that just doesn't exist anymore. Now it's just, beholden to corporate profits. So everything's about that. And, in my last film, Americonned, which was about income inequality, the one thing, I wanted to do a whole series of 1 hour films. And one, I started writing it like that. One I was just going to do was on food, traveling around. I think we traveled 30,000 miles, making this around the United States. And, you get into these food deserts and there's nothing. It's just dollar stores, Dollar General. It's like
liquor
the worst
stores.
food. Yeah. The worst food you can buy. It's just fat laden preservatives. That's all these people have because they've all driven those the markets out. And there's just food deserts. It's amazing if you look at a map of food deserts in the United States. It's frightening. So, you couple that with they're making healthcare. It's harder to get healthcare. of course their life expectancy go down. Kids are automatically in debt as soon as they get out of college. Yep. They're $200,000. It's insane. And it's a system that just can't go on like this. And, Americans are so oblivious to anything historical. And it's like, I've been going on this for over 20 years. I was like, we're going to start creeping toward fascism. And they're like, that can never happen here. It can never be a Nazi Germany. I'm like, I assure you it can. It's like America is not immune to its historical imperatives. It is not. And,
I'm Cuban. Yeah. We left what, communism, and we left that. And it's just insane. I mean, the thought process that's out there, like I went and grabbed some stuff from the post that I put up. And one guy said to me, why do you hate capitalism?
Because it's horrible.
He's like, why do you hate capitalism? And then he writes later in his post, the job of a company isn't to keep us healthier, it's to maximize profit.
Yeah.
And that's really where we come here. And we're going like this. We're not even close. No. Because people think this is normal. It's not normal. And at some point in time, we are getting poisoned by the system. And then we're paying higher health costs because of the system. And at some point in time, we, as a public, we have to fight back. I mean, it's craziness.
Let's think of some statistics for this. It's like, this doesn't happen in any other modern economy. An average of 650,000 people every year go bankrupt because of medical costs every year in this country. Where does that happen? Nowhere else but this country.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's like, my mother, my mom's from Italy, my dad's American, but my family in Italy, because I used to I didn't keep healthcare here for years because I would just go do it while I was in Europe, because every year I was in Europe for 2 or 3 months, and I would just get all my healthcare done there. One, because I could just buy everything over the counter, prescription, I'd get prescriptions, but it's like, it was free. I'd go in, make an appointment, doctor sees me. Even if I was in France or something, I would still do it. I remember I got an infection in my elbow, and it's like, it was like 25 euros to see the doctor in France. It's like, boom, he gave me some antibiotics, I was better. But it's, you see that there's none of that here. Like, people debate now, should I die or go bankrupt? I mean, that's a debate now. There's people like ambulances, like, no, I'm not getting the ambulance.
Yeah.
Because that's going to cost me like 50 grand just to ride to the hospital. This is crazy. And, it's just greed. And that's all capitalism is. Capitalism is just greed. And it's like, here they try and malign it like socialism, Marxism. They couldn't define any of those. No. Communism, Marxism, socialism. It's like, look, every country in the world is socialist. It's like, we are to a degree. We just do it badly. We just do it really poorly. I mean, there's no reason. There's no reason not everyone can have healthcare. No reason. There's no reason people should be homeless. I mean, I even extrapolated those kind of numbers. Like, when I was making the film, 10 years ago, I was like, when the 2008 crisis is when I wanted to make Americonned, way back in 2008. And I was like, all right, so the first bailout, that TARP bailout, was like $1 trillion. I'm like, oh, you could have taken that $1 trillion instead of giving it to the banks for fucking us over, is you could have bought everyone in this country their own home with that money and had money left over.
That's insane. The numbers are truly insane, and it's getting worse under this administration. Obviously, they don't care about the food. He's lowered the levels of testing the food to make sure it's okay when it goes out. We have salmonella coming back up pretty hard right now. I mean, all these diseases are coming back out.
I mean, come on, like him sitting at the presidential fitness test. I thought it was The Onion. I've said for the last 10 to 15 years, the hardest job in the world is writing for The Onion at this point. Because they just trying to top these headlines. I thought it was The Onion. Someone put Trump, that guy. Here's a guy. Remember after right after the election, on the airplane, he's there with RFK Jr. and Elon and Mike Johnson, and they're eating McDonald's. They got a plane full of McDonald's food. It's like, this is what you're gonna promote? Are you kidding me? And RFK Jr., that joke. It's like, and then this guy's like, yo, you can't buy soda. It's like, no soda for poor people. And like, and oh, my favorite Dave is too is like, you know, us being, you know, New Yorkers and things like that is like, he's like, yeah, they're gonna make Coca-Cola with like pure sugar cane. It's like, yeah, it's already being made. It's like I could go to the store, I go to the corner right now and buy as many bottles as I want. It's like you didn't invent that; it's been there.
So, go ahead, Dave.
No, go ahead, Bo.
So yeah, I mean, let's bring it to all that, and with the current administration, outside of screaming from the rooftops, what do you think, Mr. Dave Pederson? That is there hope? To take down these giants? Is it just getting more information out there? Is it podcasts? And I also wanted to ask you about the Bigfoot Manifesto. Is that tying into all this, or is that a little different project?
Yeah, it is. It's like I use Bigfoot sort of as a metaphor to like break down these myths. You know, like all these, you know, from everything from trickle down economics to like all this conspiracy theories, like this QAnon crap, and you know everything that's brought this administration to like to be in our lives every day. It's just so I'm using Bigfoot as like this metaphor, like you know, truth hiding in plain sight. And so you know, my subtitle is progressive politics and cryptid truths. And I'm just finishing a book for it too called The Bigfoot Manifesto, a progressive cryptid's guide to smashing capitalism, which is sort of like a field book for you to teach you how to like what's good, what'll help like fight capitalism and all this greed. But I don't know. This is, you know, I've been saying, you know, with Trump and when him getting reelected, I'm like, well, it's need to bring the system down. You know, it's like when you watch all the revolutions, it was always like the most corrupt, you know, it just, the systems just kept getting more and more corrupt. You know, you look at the Bourbons in France, by the time, you know, Louis XVI was there, it was ripe, you know, and he was, you know, he pushed it over the edge. Same thing with Cuba, you know, when he got there, you know, it was pushed over the edge, and it's like, you know, and they knew it, they felt it, you know, and you saw that's when, you know, Castro and jumped in. You like same thing in Russia, same thing there.
That's where I'm from. I was gonna say, I think it's the first time I've connected the fact that Dave and I both come from
communist countries.
Yeah, and we both escaped. I left when I was 3. When did you leave again?
No, I didn't leave. I was born upon arrival.
You were born in Syracuse. That's right.
I was born in Syracuse.
So I'm the only one who's lived in a communist country here. No.
Yeah, no, my father was the advisor to the Minister of Labor and Justice of the country and disappeared. And then we were out of the country 2 days later. Wow. When he reappeared, but 2 days later. So we went from having everything to not having anything and being in Madrid. Like this whole thing that we're seeing right now with all of this nonsense that's around us, you could have predicted it 10 years ago. You could have, because people are getting fat and people don't care, and we keep making adjustments. I mean, the newest adjustment for us in this country is the GLP-1s. Eat whatever the hell you want, take this drug, and you'll lose the weight. And I'm just like, what do we do? Like, what are we legitimately doing?
It's lazy. It's just laziness. It's like I see it with people I've known. Like they're like, they don't want to do the work. It's like, all right, I want to overindulge and then just take a pill. It's like, it doesn't work that like the people are always like, you know, look at me and like, oh, how do you stay in such great shape? I'm like, oh, I run every day. It's like, you think this like I'm like pounding like, you know, Big Macs every day? No, I do something physical you know, I run or hike every day, period. It's just like, you know, it's just, there's no secret to it. It's calories in, calories out, and don't eat, you know, try and not eat so much crap. You know?
Well, as a filmmaker, when do we get the film about that? Like, you know, one of my favorite people in fitness is in the CrossFit space, or kind of anti-CrossFit at this point, but he was the first ever CrossFit Games champion, James Fitzgerald. You know, he does his posts and he's like, #broccoli, sponsored by broccoli. It's like
that's great. Exactly.
You
and
know,
broccoli's delicious.
Right, but well. Anyway,
I eat a ton of it. So my mom in Italy, it's like, you know, lemon, olive oil, and
to your point, I think everyone knows what to do, and they know that choice they're making when they're in. So, but I guess that's the question. When do we look at behavior change? When are we actually going to get, again, you know, Super Size Me was an interesting part of that conversation. I think historically, when we look back, we go all the way back to Jack LaLanne. We can look at Arnold doing pumping iron and seeing that as an extreme, but still like, okay, some people got motivated by that. Super Size Me seems to be another certainly a main staple in this conversation of the food. So I guess I don't know if you see anything coming in the future. Do you think there's any kind of film like that where we can get a powerful enough impact? And with the way social media has spread out, the message is spread, people follow these micro influencers. Mr. Beast is kind of having some health stuff. He's the most popular person on YouTube. There's some of these conversations, but yeah, what's actually going to make the difference, in your opinion, to make that change?
It's such a at the scale we are here, it's like it's so hard to figure that out. It's usually, there's always tipping points in these sort of situations. But the thing is, if you have a government that doesn't really care, this presidential fitness thing, it's it's not even a Band-Aid at the best. It's like, it comes down. I mean, I'm really not sure. It's like, I really struggle with this. I'm like, I hoped our film would have more of an impact on that thing. But then you look at the reality shows. I mean, how many shows about 1,000-pound people can we watch at this point? And I'll give you a story about how bad that's got. I was sitting with my friend Jeff Mann, who was a producer on Americonned, and his wife Sarah, who's a host on the Home Shopping Network. And this was 10 years ago. And she was at Shop NBC in Minneapolis. So I'm visiting them over Christmas in Minneapolis. And My 600-Pound Life had just debuted, right? And I started watching it. And I was like, oh my God, watch this. This show's crazy. And they're like, well, how long can the show last? How many 600-pound people are there? And I told them, because I did this, numbers during Super Size Me. And this was, 2004 data, 10 years later. And I was like, well, back then, 1% of the country was 500 pounds plus. That's 3.3 million people. So I told them they have over 3 million potential people that they can put on that show. Think about that. 500 pounds. That's insane.
That's crazy.
Yes, 1%. I don't know what the data is now, but that was the data back then. 1% of the country was 500 pounds. I was like, what? How is that possible? Then you watch these shows, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's definitely possible.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think there could be a movie out there today to talk about food like this, like Super Size Me did, that would have the same impact? Or with the way we're living in this kind of crazy world that we're living in, could something still make an impact as big as Super Size Me did?
Well, I think there has to be, it can't just be a one-off film. I think it needs to be something that's more in your face every day. I mean, the good stuff I'm seeing is you guys doing this kind of podcast. I'm seeing more of this stuff filter through in social media, and I'm just hoping it takes a grip. The key is to look. I think there are two groups that you need to get into this. You got to get the young people into it.
Yes.
It's a better lifestyle. And I hate to say it because it's so vapid, but it's sometimes they see these beautiful thin influencers and it's they're like, oh, I want to look like that. And then they look well, how can I look like that? It's and if some of these influencers look, this is what instead of showing show what it takes to look like that every day. The workouts, your diets, all these people, they have diet, they have cooks and dietitians. I think they have to see is well, this is what I do. And it's hard work. People just think oh, these people don't do anything. It's no, they work. A lot of them work really hard to look like that. I know actors that the stuff they go through to get ready for a role. I'm like, man, you look great. It's I'm going to, you want to go live with them for while they're doing this. And so I think it's that. But then it's the people that have come to no pun intended, but at a critical mass standpoint is, their health. It's oh, yeah, I'm going to die. You'll watch that, My 600-Pound Life. And you'll see Dr. Nelsarden's you're going to die within, the year. It's, and that's when they change. It's when they have, it's so I think you have to get them early or, you get these people that are at that point and they're not even that old. A lot of these people are in their 20s and 30s and, and get some of these people out talking about it and because it's out of control. It's just out of control. And it'll all help if we would put more money into, education and healthcare. If we had, universal healthcare, this stuff wouldn't happen because these kids would be seeing doctors, at least a couple times a year. They would be having these tests. Their parents would have more education on like what to feed them. And it's amazing. Like I was looking and I've noticed this, like in Super Size Me, like the kids we interviewed are actually my sister's like second grade student. She's a principal now. But I go into these schools in Massachusetts and it's like the health, like now I see why those kids are in better shape there. Their cafeterias are amazing. It's like a restaurant. They have vegan stations, like they're serving falafel. It's amazing. The food in Massachusetts and the school systems there is amazing. I'm like,
Wow.
You're getting that? I was like, it's amazing. Like they have all these different stations. And that's what they do. And you'll see it. Like I literally, like I would like, I was going to check out some data in Massachusetts, being the schools there. And it's like, because the amount of obese children is substantially smaller than when I travel, look around this, Midwest to South, there's places that are like, 35% to 30% obesity rates. It's definitely low. Because I know like Colorado's in that ballpark too. Like, I think overall they're like this, like low 20s, late teens, something like that for obesity in states like that, which is still
high.
Of course, it's still high.
Well, again, like I'm in Boulder County, which you mentioned the Sundance Film Festival. We're getting that in a year.
I might be visiting out there soon, so I'll let you know.
Come on by.
I got a bunch of friends in Boulder, so
there you go. We're in Boulder County. We're about 10-minute drive from there, 15-minute drive. So what I was going to say though is those statistics, you're throwing out a lot of statistics. I did try to Google while you were talking how many Americans over 500 pounds. No clear numbers or even approximate numbers on that. Just such a difficult thing to throw out. I would imagine actually when you said it, when you're saying 1%, I would think that's kind of like rounding error. There's no way there's 3.3 million people in America that weigh over 500 pounds.
I remember that number. Like
I'm sure that was the number. I'm sure that's a statistic that's reported, but that's where again I would challenge. Let's look a little deeper on that because 500 pounds is wow. Yeah, I mean, even in the heartland of America, 3.3 million.
You remember, like even anecdotally, you don't see those people.
Sure.
True.
But again, I'm in the medical system. I've driven around. Yeah. I did home healthcare. Like I've been part of the medical system. So again, I do think I'd have a little better understanding. I'm not saying by any means, but that I'm like the ultimate authority on that. But yeah, that just seems like a ridiculous number. I feel like, even if it was 0.6%, you technically, you're 0.51%, you round up.
Do you think they round up?
I would. There's no way, like 1%, it makes it a lot easier than saying 0.3% or anyway. So I don't know, but that's an interesting piece of the documentary conversation, right? And what actually gets people to move and change the need and change whatever that behavior is. Again, it sounds like we all know what they should be doing, right? People should be eating more vegetables. People should be eating less processed foods. Everyone, I'm sure, could throw out 5 or 10 different healthy habits if we really ask them on the street. Again, I know in Super Size Me, you guys go up and ask people like, what is a calorie? Calorie is kind of a hard thing to define. Not to say that was a bad segment. I think it was good to point out, but I still think that's a very technical thing. When we talk about, again, the influencers and looking for what is that answer, you look at the Andrew Hubermans, right? The Peter Attia's, even Joe Rogan, we have to call, unfortunately, a health influencer, right? But all its politics aside and all that, but still, I think people are able to come back to, I should probably lift some weights. I should probably go for some jogs. But either they don't know how to start, or it's just not a priority in their lives, or they're just making the choice not to. So I don't know. I think that's where we get a little further into it if we're going to further.
But I think they've dumbed it down too. I think they've dumbed down the whole fitness industry as a whole anyways, because all of a sudden you can go to an app and just figure this all out. When things have to be, we say this all the time, things have to be tailor-made to the people. You got to meet the client where they're at, and you got to push those clients to help them with whatever they have. But
Dave, I'm going to jump in and say, I think you're making perfect the enemy of good. And I think we need good enough right now. We're all drowning. What you're talking about here is we've been drowning for a long time. And then I think we get into these academic conversations of saying we need this, this, and this. And it's like, that sounds great. But again, acknowledging food deserts and things like that is great. But I think, we need to figure out where that middle ground is. And I think, again, in GLP-1s, it's easy to say it's a cheap cut. And I'm not pushing for them. But at the same time, I think when we've had these conversations on this show, I'm the devil's advocate of it all and saying, like, you know what, like, we have to move in that direction, unfortunately. At how much we're drowning, it is the life preserver. It's the door on the Titanic that Kate and Jack, can you get on the door, Jack? Anyway.
Yeah, the access to healthy food, I mean, it's deteriorated. Those numbers,
Yes.
like, I've been following them for the last few years, and the access to like healthy whole foods is like, it's, it declines every year, access to it. So if you can't get that healthy food, you're not going to be healthy. You are what you eat, right?
Right. So when we talk about demanding better, what are our options? Are we actually going to be able to change the political system? We're talking about the current administration. I think we're all pretty negative on the whole current political state. So are we looking for, billionaires to step up and lend their money to public school systems?
Don't count on them.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, what is the realistic, I don't want to leave today's conversation saying, well, yeah, I feel worse about our current state of access to healthcare and healthy food.
Like I said, I think the whole system has to come to a tipping point, which we're we're getting there, getting closer and closer, where people have just had enough. You're going to see people that's what happens in every system. It's like, all right, we can't take any more of this abuse, and it collapses. I mean, that's
what do you think that looks like? You sound very well researched on the history of some of these systems, and what does that look like? And is there a way maybe to soften that collapse, at least to have a soft reset rather than a very hard reset?
Everyone always hopes for that. Sometimes, like, it's a longer process. I mean, the Roman Empire is a really great example of that too. Like, everyone always thinks, oh, Rome fell, like barbarians stormed the gates, all this sort of stuff. No, but I mean, the real reason Rome fell was income inequality. At one point, you had over 90%, 95% were living in poverty. And so when you no longer have a middle class and everything's weighted to one side or the other, it's going to collapse. And that's where we're heading. It's like the middle class has shrunk so much. I mean, since 1980, $50 trillion of wealth has transferred from the bottom 50% to the top 10% since 1980. $50 trillion.
More,
and that's just getting worse, And so, and it's crazy. It's just plain greed. I mean, at this point, the system just can't support itself. I don't know what it's going to look like. Is it going to be like a violent overthrow? It probably has to be. I just don't see anyone trying to really dig us out of the problem. I mean, I've been heartened with Mamdani in New York. Like, I was like, whoa. I was like, people are taking notice. Like, this system's broken. And this guy, and like, people think he's radical. He's just pitching what every other country in the world does. It's like, he's pitched really nothing radical. Like, it's radical to Republicans and capitalists, but to the rest of the world, it's like, what? Healthcare for everyone, affordable housing. That happens in every country in the world except here. It really does. It's like, I laugh because they're always like, oh, he's so radical. He'd be like just an average politician in another country. He really would.
No, but I think you're right. I think we are getting a little bit closer to that tipping point. I think it's because right now what we're seeing is like, I work with at-risk youth, and you're taking away their SNAP benefits now. And you're starting to do all sorts of stuff. So there's less food for them now. There's going to be less opportunity for them to get food. And the word access, I can't stand, because access means you can get some. No, people need to get food. People they're starting to do community gardens up in Harlem and in the Bronx, and they're starting to do these things where they're trying to get healthy foods out in these food deserts. And I'm seeing it in New York. But the issue is, it's still not enough. And we're closer to the tipping point, but if it breaks, what does that look like in terms of us? Because I'll say this to you, there's a whole hell of a lot of greed. Nobody cares. And like you said, every place uptown, when you go into the projects, liquor, fast food, bodega, bingo.
Yeah.
That is the whole thing up there. And it's absolutely frustrating. Your movie shed a light on your documentary shed a light on what the hell was going on. That was way back. Now we're here and it's worse. And
Yeah.
as before, before we leave, I just want to know, what do you see in terms of everything going on in this space that you think is going to change, let's say in the next 5 years, other than collapse?
It's like, I don't know. I just see everything getting worse, and Americans are okay with it. I mean, everyone says, "Oh, I don't like to talk about politics." I'm like, well, you know what? Politics is going to find you no matter where you go. You can ignore it all you want, but it's going to find you. I mean, it just comes down to people waking up that this stuff doesn't work. I mean, look at all the crap this guy said. Like, oh, eggs will be cheaper first day in office. The war in the Ukraine will be first day, like, and they all believe it. I was like, how can you believe this stuff? This guy's made a lifetime of, he's just some jet trash con man from Queens, who's been doing this whole life. But like, he's like a messiah figure at this point, and I don't know. It's like, you got to break the spell. It's like people, they believe everything they read on the internet. It's like, I don't know. It's just like, it comes down to people just waking up, and it's like, because they all think it's like, there was the old Upton Sinclair like quote. He said, like, and this was like turn of the century. He was like, every American thinks they're like a lucky break from being a millionaire. And that's how they think. They think, oh, I'll be the next Elon Musk. It's like, you have no chance of being any of one of these people, like zero. It's, you have a better chance of getting struck by a comet at this point, than becoming a billionaire. It's, so that's their thinking. They're like, oh, if we take away their ability to make all the money they want, I can't make all the money I want. Like, dude, they're ripping you off. I mean, look at it now. I mean, I don't even want to get into that, but it's like, salaries for the bottom 50% have barely nudged up in like, 45 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, 4% at best for the bottom 50%, something like that. I think that was.
Yeah, and I'll even speak to the middle class here. I mean, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I graduated 2008. Salaries for my profession have not moved in over
They're
20
frozen,
years.
right? Completely frozen.
Yeah.
In 20 years, no real comparison to inflation or cost of living. And the degrees have gone up in price as well.
When Americonned, what really got me into it was right at the 2008 crash, and I was reading Robert Caro's great LBJ voluminous series on LBJ, and I was up to the point in 1965 where he gave his War on Poverty speech to Congress, and it's a great speech. It's like amazing, and I'm watching him, so I'm like, okay, 1965, this is great. I'm like, oh, so how did it, did it work? Did it have effect? So I looked, and I was like the poverty rate, like when he made the speech, was like 25%ish in the nation, up to the point where Nixon started dismantling all his War on Poverty programs. Probably about 72, 73, he had more than halved poverty through his programs. And so it was working. And then, so what I extrapolated was like, all right, what was the minimum wage? I said in 1965, and it was like $1.25 an hour. And so I did the math, I did the math up to 2014. I did the math, and I'm like, oh, it should, well, for inflation, if you adjust everything, it should be like over $20 an hour. And, like right now, it should probably be like $24, $25 an hour should be minimum wage, period. And it's $7.25.
Yeah, that it's, and listen,
it
man,
hasn't gone up. It hasn't been raised in 16 years.
No, I mean, everything that's going on right now, it's just like the ultimate grift. It doesn't matter. These influencers, we did a thing on influencers in a pod about a year ago, and we found this woman who was, rocking body, but she had never been in the gym. She just went in the gym, took some pictures while she was in the gym, did a couple movements, a couple videos, sent them out, and she got sued by the state of Texas. She got sued by Texas by the AG.
Texas did it.
Her name is Danielle Davis. She went on, she got sued. Now she runs a Christian fellowship camp.
There you go.
So now she went to God, and God's pulled her out. But it's kind of like everything is just the grift. And you kind of look at all these things, all this stuff that's coming out on apps, slimmers. So people go on apps and they take their bodies and they slim them. Well, people are going to see you in person someday. They're going to know you're not that thin. You know,
Yeah.
everything is about the grift. There's nothing anymore about, you know, caring about kids, caring about
Well, we have the
about our
greatest
food.
grifter, like probably in American history.
Can I ask you something, Dave, in this
Yeah.
political context as well? I mean, looking back at the Obama administration, Michelle Obama tried to take on fitness, moving, exercise, improved food. And it seemed, I don't know if we can just blame the GOP blocking her, the Fox News of it all, blocking those messages, really knocking it down. But I think to say she was one of the most powerful women in the history of America, trying to take that challenge on and having very little success, very little power moving the needle. I don't know if you feel anything there. And again, even now with RFK, kind of taking on very similar language as what she said. If you look at the bottom line, is like, he's kind of, I know there's a lot of other nonsense around it, but but you know, and now the same people are kind of saying like, yeah, okay, we can buy into that. A little bit, but I wonder your perspective on the Michelle Obama of it all, taking on that that movement. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger having his influence, I'd say he's still one of the most influential people in that health and fitness world. I just wonder what you think of those two kind of influencers. Well, you got to remember,
I mean, they're being, you know, you have Fox News shoveling in your face all the time. They're never going to promote that. And I say this all the time to people: is the Republican Party, especially since like the 1973 is such a watershed year for everything. But let's just say from 1973, where, you know, they released the Powell memo and all that stuff came out, is I'll watch movies like these, you know, comic book movies and stuff, and I'm like, no one's created a villain more evil than the Republican Party. I mean, their whole goal is to keep people sick, poor, and without the ability to vote and change things. That if you look, that's all they try and do. They're always about transferring wealth from the poor to the rich. They're doing it again. They're getting a double dip this time, you know, with the new tax bill. So there's going to be like another shift, you know. Same thing in the tariffs too. People don't realize, like, these idiots that, like, you know, I don't even want to go on how stupid it is trying to implement 18th century British mercantilism to a modern economy. But it's like, so that's another transfer of wealth, because, like, we know who pays the tariffs. We pay the tariffs.
We do.
So that's another wealth transfer there on top of the tax bill that's coming out, which is going to cost a family of four at least $2,400 a year. But who makes out? The top 10% is going to make a killing off of it. But so, I mean, till you have, like, defeat, like, literally the Republican Party, that's their whole goal. They're happy people are fat and sick. Like, this helps them. You know, people they die younger. It's like, so they don't have to pay Social Security. It's like, everything is like geared just keep people fat, sick, and poor. You know, with a limited access to voting.
Dave?
To get rid of these people, to quit voting for these people.
Well, yes.
Like, I was so disappointed in white women. 53% of white women voted for Trump. I was like, what? The best demographic? Black women, period.
So, I'm going to go ahead, Bo. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the thing I've taken away, I've talked to Kelly and Juliet Starrett on my show. They're two of the, again, best influencers in the space. They do a lot of grassroots work. I asked them this kind of question. I also just had Eric Malzone. His podcast is The Future of Fitness. I think the takeaway, and Rob Wolf, actually, who's another huge advocate in this kind of fitness space that I'm a big fan of. And they all get into the politics of it. And I would say that having talked to those guys, my one bit of hope and the demand better message that we want to leave folks with here, I want to leave folks with, not that there is no hope, not that civil war is coming, not that the collapse is coming, is imminent, T-minus, you know, how
I look at this data every day, so
I believe you. But it comes down to, I think, even to the food conversation, it comes down to the choice you're going to make at your next meal. Are you going to choose to have the bread or put the bread to the side? Are you going to choose to have that Coke, or are you going to have just a water? These are the decisions you make every day with what you can do, right? I think that's what it comes down to. I think that's what we need to empower people with when it comes to their own health. I think when it comes to politics, the message when I talk to all these folks is do everything you can on your local level. So I'm here in Boulder County.
Yes.
Yes.
So
that's the only
that's
place you
piece.
can affect
Yeah.
change. It's true.
Yeah. So I want to make sure we got something almost sort of kind of close to positive, some silver lining, some bit of hope.
No, Bo, that's excellent. I've been saying that for years. When I was in college, and it was funny because I've only really liked in college I campaigned for Jerry Brown, and I campaigned for Bernie, and it was like the only two people I ever felt good about voting for president. But I used to say, like in college, I was like, you know what? Why am I even voting for president? I'm like, the only way to affect, I used to say this in college, the only way to affect change is at a local level. Because I actually think it's different, trickles up. You know?
And as somebody who's been involved in that and had that thought for so long, old man. No, I'm kidding. We won't tell you. We won't say what year he graduated college, folks. But all jokes aside, what do you think the best ways to do that, or is it to go shake the hand of your local congressperson, write letters? Is it just to go get in their face when there is town halls? If it's
these town halls now are great. They're getting in their face because you can see how fed up people are, and I'm like, wow, look at these people. That's what you have to do, and that's where I get some hope when I watch these town halls and people are like,
I got one other piece of that though, is again to try to find that hope is when people are going and complaining about their thing. I think there's some power in that. I'll say, and again, as a New Yorker, as a skeptic, as a cynic, I think my question also becomes: is there more? Either the Democratic Party can be doing and there's definitely more that they could be doing. I think it's easy to call them out for anyone who pays any attention. But is there anything we can be doing in these situations? Are there political podcasts we can be going towards? Andrew Yang was one that I was a big fan of. That he's just a terrible politician. Clearly, he's not good for running for an office, but he had amazing ideas. He has a great podcast. He has some great stuff that he puts forward. And I would never say like, yeah, that guy, we should listen to everything he says, but he was just, oh man, one of the worst politicians if you just like analyze the playbook of politicians. But I guess my question becomes,
at all.
Yeah, I guess my question
that's what's brilliant. Mamdani, like that guy's so good at what he does. Like, God, that
right.
guy,
Even Pete Buttigieg,
Jesus,
and again,
he's good. I'm like, gee, when I first started watching, I was like, oh my, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
like,
and even Pete Buttigieg, and again, he's very vocal. But I think there's, I don't know if the homosexual piece is just going to be enough to not put him up as a candidate for on the Democratic Party, or what all the behind the scenes is of it all. But yeah, he's a Rhodes Scholar. He's a war veteran. Like, you think we could put something like that forward and like get people banded behind these ideas and sharing some of the same messages. But I guess that's my question is you're getting folks, going into their own silos and being concerned about their own thing, and it just becomes either anti-Republican or anti-Democrat, versus saying, hey, we actually want this change, this change, this change. Here's how we're going to bandy behind that. There are local, statutes that we think this will actually help, again, our overall economy. What can the town of Erie, that's where I live, what can that do over these next few cycles of elections? Should we be expanding and tripling the population? Do we have the water to support that? Is that actually going to help the economy? Is that going to make the quality of life better for the people that are currently here? All these different conversations, and they're difficult. I'm just wondering if you as a filmmaker, to bring it all back to that, as a documentarian, do you think there's any way to simplify these messages to say these are the top 3 things we should be focusing on?
I mean, well, like I said, to fix the problems is, like I said, if you can fix health and education, you fix a lot of problems.
But that's not realistic.
Well, sure it is. You just got to get. I mean, like, I'll give it to Obama. I've never been a fan of like any president we've had. So it's like, well, actually, I'll take that back. Biden was an unbelievably pleasant surprise. Like, what he did to repair things is pretty incredible. But at least Obama tried to do something with healthcare, and people are like, oh, well, it doesn't totally. I'm like, look, he pushed through. That guy jammed through what he could at the time with the political clout he had, and he did it. So it was a start, but it's like no one's finished that job. There's just no reason. And people are always like, oh, we pay too much taxes here. It's like, compared to the rest of the world, our taxes are nothing. And, and do they mind? Pay like, oh, well, we pay 50% in taxes. Yeah, but you have great health care, great, like, infrastructure. You know, we don't have any of that crap here. It's like, you know, because people are just, you know, first, companies are too greedy, so they don't want to pay people. So it's like, one, until you start paying people better, you give people access to good health care, you give people access to great education, we're going to have these problems. It's going to continue.
Can we sorry, Dave, can we bring it back to that whole like getting involved with local politics? What do you think, and based on that statement you just made, what do you think somebody, a mother of two, single mother, whatever, struggling financially, can go to her congressperson and say, hey, Congressman Dave Pederson, what can you do for me right now? What do you think that thing is? If there is such a thing.
I mean, there is and there isn't, but it's like, all right, so you could say, like, one, what do they need? They need access to good food. So the thing is, like, you want to bring in and, you know, entice, you know, people are going to sell whole foods and vegetables, produce. It's like, you got to start bringing those things in. You got to start like taking a look what's being taught in the schools, what kind of education is being received there. Are they getting health education? All these things. It's like, I think it's all the simple things, like you're saying, at a local level, is like access to food, that the kids are being properly educated, because that's where it all starts. That's where all the mental, and you know, if you don't have proper nutrition, you know, your brain, nothing develops as well.
Correct.
You're already screwed out of the blocks. And so I don't know. I think it's just simple things like that. You just got to start simple. And it's like, all right, I can't fix the whole country, but I can have a voice in my community. And, you know, and it's like convincing one person at a time, you know. And the bottom line is there's more poor people, you know, declining middle class than there are rich people. So it's just trying to get one voice and quit having these people, you know, buy all these myths of trickle down economics and all these things. It's like, you know, and just quit. You know, I mean, you know, they're baited. It's, you know, it's the same Goebbels Hitler playbook. It's like they try to find enemies like to fight. So now everyone's worried about immigrants and they are about, you know, how much what their wages should be. It's like, I mean, when you're more concerned about like who's picking your vegetables and, you know, what's going in your pocket, there's a sickness there. And so, you know, it's combating, you know, there's so many of these things to combat, but they're winning the messaging war. You know, Fox News, they are, you know, look at it now. It's, you know, it's okay.
Well, that's why my question stands. We don't have to answer it now, and I think we need to be respectful of your time and the listeners' time. Yeah. My question still stands, and if anyone has a great answer out there, is the Democratic Party need to narrow it down? You know, like build back better. Sure, great, and you know, we could look at the numbers and say Biden actually did that, and to some extent, in some respect, but it can all be undone in a few months, and we can go deeper into all that. But I guess that becomes the hanging question of you know, what can folks aim to achieve in this political climate. And so, Dave.
Well, I'm going to wrap this. David Pederson, I'm going to bring you back because we have so much to talk about still. There's still so much, and it's just been an honor and a pleasure to have you with us.
No, thank you. I mean, you gave me guys some things to think about too. So it's interesting. So great. I was going to take the rest of the day off and relax. Now you guys are I'm gonna be sitting and spinning, thinking like, all right, I gotta find an answer, because I've become such a doomsayer lately. Like, and you guys are so positive. they're like, why did I bring this guy on?
I think we're relatively positive compared to you. I don't know if
we're also very, very frustrated and trying to make a change. And I think these little conversations we will have you on again are very, very necessary. But with that being said, I'm going to wrap this bad boy up. If today's episode lit a fire under you, spread the love, hit the review button, share it, or subscribe. Dave, where can they find you?
It will be it's coming out soon. It'll be called you can just go to bigfootmanifesto.com.
So that's bigfootmanifesto.com. We are sponsored by Fit Care Physiotherapy and Wellness, where the emphasis is to focus on your fitness so you can avoid the healthcare space. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, keep evolving, and never stop demanding better. Your future self will thank you. Peace.
Peace. Peace.